About a year ago, shortly before I went in the hospital, I posted this video talking about welding with wire-fed processes and how there was a wide range of wire feed speeds you could make work. And if you just wanted to speed up your travel speed, you could do that even on the same thickness metal just by increasing your settings a little bit. And how that, if you were doing piecework, like on a positioner or something, how that would translate into better production, especially when compared to stick welding. Whenever I post a video using Short Circuit MIG, I will inevitably get a few comments like, you should never pull with hard wire, or you should never go uphill with hard wire, or comments like this one. I don't get why you insistently use short circuit when you could use globular or spray even on thinner materials. But right now, I'm going to go over the pros and cons and the limitations of short circuit MIG versus spray versus pulse spray versus dual shield flux core. Let's do it. Just for the sake of this video, I'm showing a 1/4 inch thick lap joint here. This is a 200 amp machine, the PrimeWeld MTS 200. I got it set on 20 volts, 310 inches a minute. And I'm doing a slight pull angle here. A lot of discussion on that, as I mentioned. But both pulling and pushing can work. There's slight differences. But the main thing is keeping that arc played up toward the leading edge of the puddle. Otherwise, you can definitely get some lack of fusion. Now, I test welds a lot. Now that lap joint right there that you just saw got in there pretty good. One of the benefits of short circuit MIG is you can go vertical uphill. You do need to turn it down a little bit compared to what you'd like to run flat and horizontal, but you turn it down and do just a little bit of manipulation like this, you can get a decent looking bead with really good penetration. The problem with short circuit MIG is a lot of people weld downhill where they should weld uphill, and short circuit MIG does not bite through thick layers of mill scale very well at all. Now, if I'm hanging way back in the puddle like this, and I didn't clean the mill scale, and I'm using a long stick out, and I got cold settings, it's going to lay down a little cold caterpillar that's not going to hold anything. You can see right here, it barely nipped through the hot rolled mill scale. Now, take that same thickness metal, clean all that mill scale off, stay up in the front of the puddle with the arc using those same settings, which are, by the way, way too cold. This is just for demonstration purposes. I basically couldn't even snap that with my body weight. So I had to get a cheater bar. Same settings. The only thing different is I stayed up in the front of the puddle and I cleaned all that mill scale off. Not only is short circuit MIG good for all positions and up to, let's say, around 3/8 of an inch thick, depending on who you ask, but it's also great for thin metal. And you can go down on wire size to 0.24, 0.25s, and you can weld some really thin stuff, auto body panels, or something like this thin square tubing. This thin wall square tubing could easily be done with 0.30 or 0.35 wire, but 0.25 runs great on thin stuff like this. You can go up to about 1/8 of an inch, and there's a lot of exceptions to that rule. Small wire like this also helps you run a 115 volt MIG welder when you're kind of pushing the limits of a breaker off a drop cord. Well, now let's take a look at spray transfer and how it differs from short circuit MIG. The main thing about spray is it's a lot hotter and usually requires a bigger welding machine with enough duty cycle to handle it. For this simple T-joint on 1/4 inch thick metal, we're using 9010 argon CO2. Now let's compare the difference in the sound. Pulse spray is a spray process, but with a pulse added that controls the arc and lets you weld out of position. One drawback is you need a machine that's capable of doing pulse, and they're generally a little bit more expensive. For certain shops, that money would be well spent, especially when welding to a code. Listen to the difference in the sound. It's a good hot arc because it's still spray transfer. It's just a lot more controllable. The way that crater is sunken in there like that is pretty indicative of really good penetration. And the great thing about pulse, it's still spray, but you can weld out of position, like uphill, overhead, no problem. With just a very little bit of manipulation, you can make that bead lay down pretty flat, like on this vertical fillet weld T-joint. to me, on a joint like this, pulse spray MIG resembles short circuit more than anything. Here's a comparison. Dual shield flux core is probably one of the most underrated, underutilized wire-fed processes there is. Usually the same machine that you run short circuit MIG on can also run dual shield flux core if you got the duty cycle. One of the great things about dual shield flux core is you don't have to do any special techniques or any fancy manipulation to get it to lay down flat going vertical uphill, and it really punches in there. There's a light slag covering, but it usually comes off very easily. Just a little flick of the chip and hammer usually, and a little wire brush. The ability to put down a lot of metal, not have to clean mill scale, weld all positions is great for some people. If you're working with large parts like this, you don't want to be flipping that thing over just to weld flat. It's impractical. Why would you want to flip this thing over when you can just go vertical up so easily like this with dual shield flux core? This is Lincoln 71M. There's a lot of different grades and different classifications. One last thing about dual shield that a lot of people aren't aware of, and I wasn't either until I met my friend JD, but it's available in diameters as small as 0.35, so you can run it off a small machine like this. This is in his shop several years ago. He had a lot of pipe work to do, putting a cover pass on some Schedule 80 pipe using that small machine with dual shield flux core, and results kind of speak for themselves. Hey, before we go, I want to invite you to take advantage of our free welding guides. You can find the link in the description of this video. I put a lot of work into these guides. It's not something that's just copied and pasted from ChatGPT. No BS, no fluff, with lots of links to short, concise videos, some of which are not on YouTube. Just simply click the link in the PDF, and you're going to go to a nice short video with crisp arc shots, along with settings and an explanation of the techniques that are used, with a real focus on vertical uphill and overhead. It's laid out for you with a table of contents. These are completely free, of course. I hope you'll shop at weldmonger.com, but no obligation.